This is the Washington Post, who did an article that said...
The Jeff Bezos Times.
Yeah, the Jeff Bezos Times.
Bezos.
Pretty well. It's kind of that idea where everyone kind of talks about this, they're like, oh, first you say that.
No, there's literally where you go, what, we're going to get dogs are marrying each other?
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, what's wrong with that? So the article is about Pride Month kink consent. And she says, yes, my kids should be at the kink. Kink should be at Pride is the premise of her article. And it's a woman saying why kink, which is ball gags. Danny, you elaborate. This is sort of your domain.
Like furry. You're dressed as a furry.
Furry would be probably in the less aggressive sect. The more aggressive sect is wearing basically a thong. You're on a leash with another guy whipping you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, just pretty normal stuff.
Having people spit in your mouth. But she said, our family often took the train to Philadelphia when we were young. But as we rode across the bridge to attend the Pride, my wife's leg bounced with nervous jitter. She squeezed my hand, worried that she might run into a colleague or be harassed by a stranger. My wife is trans, but she wasn't out at the time. With our children, now we're at the parade, and our children grew tired of marching. We plopped onto a nearby curb. Just as we got settled, our elementary schooler pointed in the direction of oncoming floats, raised an eyebrow at a bare-chested man in dark sunglasses whose black leather suspenders clipped onto a leather thong.
Nice. Pretty fucking hot, actually.
You didn't tell me you went to Pride.
It's pretty fucking hot, dude.
The man paused to be spanked playfully by a partner with a flog. What are they doing, my curious kid asked as our toddler cheered them on. I told you my first memory of Pride was we were in a car going to the Ontario place and we got stuck in the car in the Pride parade and someone came in the window wearing leather and he goes, we're proud, we're gay, so get out of our way. Funniest thing ever. The pair was on a few dozen kinksters who danced up and down the streets, laughing together as they twirled their whips and batons, some leading companions in leashes. At the time, my children were too young to understand the nuance of the situation. I told them the truth. These folks were members of the community, celebrating who they are and what they do. So it doesn't sound that crazy right now.
No.
But then they said, so respectability politics demand that queer people assimilate as much as possible into cis and heteronormative, hewing to mainstream cultural standards. Including kink and pride, opens space for the families to have necessary and powerful conversations with young people about health, safety, consent, and most uniquely, pleasure.
I love consent, by the way.
I love consent, and I love talking to young kids about how to be pleasure.
How to pleasure themselves.
We don't talk to our children enough about pursuing sex to fulfill carnal needs and the delight to captivate us in our moment. What do you think?
Definitely not enough.
Do you think we talk to the kids enough about...
No, the dialogues need to open.
The dialogues with 7-year-olds about how to fulfill themselves pleasure.
And just
prepubescent children for sure.
Yeah, just different...
You know what, LGBT, a lot of these activists turned into? They turned into a bad stepdad that's showing your kid porn way too early. They turned into a bad stepdad that's kind of kids, come here. I want to show you something. This right here, it's called a BBC.
They're like fucking religious zealots, just the other way. They're instead of God hates fags, they're God loves fags. And they're
God demands them.
God demands fags. And they're they're protesting and outside of stuff, and they're
dude, teaching your fucking 8-year-old about what's fucking how to get the most pleasure,
yeah.
So your clit's gonna be stimulated. You go, I don't know.
Your clit gets engorged, as does and you're like, what? The fuck?
That's you go. I get. It's one of those things where all the gay people that are just your average person, but sexually they're gay.
Uh-huh.
And this is what they said. They go, it turns it into heteronormative. If you're making the pride parade it's yeah, and 90% of gay people are that. They're are standards. You go, what places has standards where you teach your kids about sex other than maybe Rome,
yeah,
where the kids are treated like fucking objects for the wealthy? And Hollywood,
or you're just in pretty fucking vanilla sex ed class when you're 10 or 11. Well,
yeah, if you want, but if my teacher was forced to show me, you can show up.
Your teacher just shows up in a ball gag and goes, "We're gonna learn some things today, kids."
All right, I'm gonna bring my partner Jerome in. Okay, this is called getting down on all fours like a cum slut that you are. So the funny it starts out where they're just like, everyone should be included, and then they're like, we should teach our kids about sex. And it's like, have fun.
Yeah.
You're allowed, but but you go, it's also the give them an inch, take a mile thing where it's like, if you just said, whatever, be engaged with this, it's like, no, these people have a obsession with combining causes. So they can't just be like gay pride. They have to be like, and which
it's like we're for kink and freeing Palestine.
Yeah.
And you're like,
because what they want to say is if you're into kink, like you're the guy that goes, I need to go to the place where I fucking pay the money, have myself put in a harness, and it go, if you think that's weird, you're homophobic. They want to piggyback off the fact that people don't care if you're gay. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what they do is basically almost no one cares if you're gay. So they need to go, well, people feel weird about teaching our kids about ball gags in our mouth. So we go, hey, can we use a bit of that gay clout? Please, sir, can I have some clout?
May I have some
clout? May I use some of that gay clout capital?
What? Like
for my kink shame?
I don't have a subscription to this Washington Post, the Jeff Bezos Times, but like, what do they list specific kinks or just kink in general?
Maybe. No, they were going into it.
Yeah.
But it's the one that they're talking about is like a guy getting spanked by another man and whatever. And you go, I can see if you go, listen, I'm not going to bring my kids to Pride if that's what it's going to be. Or I can also see how people, and they go, it's kind of an adult parade. And that's what's going on there. And I can also see how other people say, that are in part of the gay community be like, hey, why don't we just not do that stuff because we want to make it like pretty
more
kid friendly.
Well, the thing
right?
is, imagine you're still on the fence about going to Pride, and then you're like, "Wait, this is what it is now." Like you weren't like on the fence about it going 10 years ago, and then
it was
like,
pretty aggressive in Toronto.
I guess it was always
already.
been pretty aggressive. Yeah, I guess it's always been.
And it is what it is. If you want your kids to go to that, fine. But it's like the part where you're like, we need like they couldn't just stop at like, we're gonna fucking show our kids sex shit when they're 7. They go. And everyone should.
Yeah. Like it should be mandatory.
You're homophobic if you don't. It was like, just do your fucking weird shit. Bring your kids to your weird shit. But you have to. They can't. It's the just girl shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't just leave it at that.